Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Mortgage Heroes Weekly Podcast. I'm Andy.
And I'm Will.
So today, it is just you and me today. We got no Brian. Welcome back to the show. It's been
welcome me back,
weeks.
Andy. It feels actually really good.
It's been a couple weeks.
You know, that's what happens when you go on vacation.
Yeah. Wait, what?
I didn't miss you guys as much as I thought I would.
You were on vacation?
Yeah, I'm back.
Must be nice.
That's right.
Well, the market was not on vacation.
Market. It never is. It never is.
So we're going to jump right into today's articles. The first thing right out the top memo is home listings up more than 60% in some cities across the country. Nationwide active listings in August were up 36% compared with the same month last year. This is from Realtor.com, coming kind of via CNBC, but a new Realtor.com article. And the claim is the growth of supply is due to the fact that homes are sitting on the market longer, which kind of sounds a little weird, right?
Yeah.
Like there's more inventory because the houses are on the market longer.
That's right. Well, before we get into that, Andy, I like that. You just called me Memo. I had a couple of clients ask me, where do you get Memo from?
Oh, I didn't. Wait, what? People don't know that.
No.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, most of our viewers are our clients. So, yeah, William in Spanish is Guillermo. So, Guillermo in short is Memo, just like William, Will, or Willie, or Chili Willie, whatever you want to do it. But there it is, ladies. That's why it's Memo. And it's like Memo, like a regular memo pad.
Should we call you Frio Memo?
Frio Memo. But okay, going on with that.
I just jump right to Andy. I skip over the Andrew, Andy. Yeah, just
there you
right
go.
Over
Exactly.
So I didn't know
you can. All my friends, family, you guys call me Memo, Will, whatever.
I'm glad we made that pit stop today.
Yeah.
This whole time, people just know what that means.
No,
so I'm really sorry
not
about
at all.
that.
They're like Finding Nemo. No, yeah, just like your daughters used to.
They did call you Nemo for quite some time now.
They still do.
It's because the card that came with the flowers to the hospital said Tanya and Uncle Nemo on it one time. So
purposely done.
Oh,
and boy, did it stick.
Well, so what do you make of this? First of all, so I understand. Okay, there's more homes on the market, but there's more homes on the market because they're just taking a longer time to sell. Well, duh. Naturally, they're going to have higher volume. But like, what's really going on here? What do you think?
But again, it has to do with the affordability, right? We're the worst affordability that there is or has been, and so we are seeing an uptick in these homes, and we're starting to see a lot more homes being withdrawn. We're seeing homes staying in the market a lot longer. I actually have it here, and I got this information for Alto's research, and you already know. I mean, they're really very, very good. But we noticed that Florida, it's actually 64% more homes available at this very moment than last year.
Yeah,
that's pretty crazy. That's
a lot.
Exactly, and we're starting to hear like some areas like Tampa and stuff like that. The prices are coming down. Arizona, 72%, Andy.
So yeah, no, that's a lot. I mean, San Diego even made the list, 80%.
You know what?
Up from last year. That's crazy.
I would say that's inaccurate. Okay, I mean,
I wanted to talk about it.
I didn't see San Diego. Okay, so I don't know. So I'm not obviously it might be, but I don't think that.
But remember the context. The window we're talking about is from this time last year.
Correct.
So in the summer of 23, we had the peak of mortgage rates. In the fall of 23, like inventory was paltry at best. So it sounds like a really big number, but comparatively it's not. And here's why. When you step back even further, this is still a lower amount of homes or a smaller amount of homes on the market than 2019, like pre-COVID shutdown stuff.
Correct.
So you have to take a honest step back and go, okay, this might look like crazy numbers, but they're kind of not, because compared to just 5 years ago, they're actually still really low.
Correct. Well, all California that I saw, according to Altos, and they're very good at what they do, they have 36%. I don't think we would hold 80% in just the San Diego, especially seeing, how much supply we have.
From the city perspective, the San Diego is being reported as 80% up.
Correct.
But again, that the number of that 36% average is kind of right on target. There's going to be some that are way below that and some are really high above it. And I don't think the ones that are above it are drawing that number super strong up to 36. There's a lot that are less than 36. So I have to
Hawaii was like 20%.
Yeah, there's going to be a ton of them that are a lot, and there's some places that are going to be the same as they were. Because I think the argument there is that there's some places where the people who are going to move there have done that, they've done so.
Yeah,
and there may not be even any inventory in those places to just show up. A lot of new builds. Let's just pick a random. I'm going to say Tallahassee because I don't know why. But think about it. Unless they're building a lot of new places there. then you're just turning over the inventory that already pre-exists. And so there's not a lot of chance for that inventory to turn over unless people there are just getting rid of their houses and going somewhere else. So
and according to this, why they've drummed up so many homes is like Arizona. A lot of the investors were seeing like, hey, this is a really hot market, literally, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of developers were actually going out there buying these big plots of land and then new construction. And so new construction is going out. Hey, that investor's doing it. Another one's going to do it. And I think that's why they have such a high supply of homes right now. 72%. That's quite a bit.
That's a lot. And,
that's for the whole state.
Here's the thing, though, and this is what's interesting to me. And I know they didn't go into this here because it's kind of like a later thing that's going to happen in the timeline of life is that what's going to happen with prices. Like this looks like a really steep incline in a lot of these places, but we're not seeing I'll say commensurate amount of price reductions either.
Yeah.
You're not seeing 80% increase year over year and then also a 30% price decline. Like that's not happening.
No.
So it's certainly not an indication that there's like a cliff ahead. I think some of this has to do with Brian and I talked about this last week when you were on vacation. We were talking about how I think that like our seasons have shifted. Like the spring and summer, like peak buying season, I feel like that's shifted to the right an entire quarter. Where
You're absolutely right.
Summer people started thawing out, and then now the fall. I think the fall is going to be bonkers.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, you're right. In past history, the fall's been like pretty slow. Like
right.
And
on average, it's kind of like once people have like started school again, it's like things start like creeping. It gets slow, and then all of a sudden, Costco's got Halloween stuff out in August, and then like September they got like the Christmas stuff out, and everyone's like looking like miles down the road. But jokes aside, people treat real estate that way.
Yeah.
Like if I didn't move by September, well, I'm just not going to move really.
Yeah.
And then there's seasonal problems with other places where it starts to rain a lot more. It gets cold. You're going to start seeing snowfall and all that kind of thing. So we don't have that stuff going on here.
Yeah.
But I've said this before. Our Decembers are traditionally crazy.
Yeah.
I can't look at this coming December and say, oh, it's going to be like even Steven. I think it's going to be really busy.
Yeah, it'll get very busy in comparison to last year, right? I mean, we're going to be honest. Last year, December was not that busy. It's, the past several years, we've been bonkers. But it's what it is. With everything, with the market climate, everything changing, it's going to change where people's appetites are going to be, if they want to buy now or later.
So do you agree or disagree with the sentiment that if inventory is increasing, but prices are staying the same, with mortgage rates like estimated to go, they've been going down a little bit, but they're estimated to go down a little bit more. Do you think that that's going to draw more buyers off the sidelines?
Yeah, I think, it's not going to draw them off, but it's going to encourage them.
Okay. Because, if you have more like selection.
Yeah, correct. Like, I'm going to just use an example. We had a client where we actually had him qualified at 6.75. Mm-hmm. I just gave him a call, and we're at 5.6 to 5 EA, right?
Wait, hold on. Wait, sorry. He was already approved at 6.75?
Correct. We had approved him at 6.75.
How long ago was that?
It was like 2.5 months ago.
And now it's
5.6 to 5.
5 and 5
Yeah, correct.
Dude, that's
a little
crazy.
over 1% below. That makes a big difference. That's like a $500,000-$600,000 monthly payment.
Sorry for my interruption / reaction. That's a lot.
Definitely. People have to, if they were on the fence before and thought that their payment's higher, now is the time to revisit that.
Dang.
And just see where they're at.
Well, that's a substantial difference, first of all, on the interest rate, which then translates into the monthly payment.
Yeah.
And then maybe, or even increase the affordability so we can go buy at the market price.
You know what's so funny, Andy, is the Fed still hasn't cut the rates, right?
Well, no, but I think part of that is because everyone's projecting that that's what they're going to do because they've been so data dependent. Yeah. Now that they have the data, they're kind of projecting that's what they're going to do. So,
but again, the reason why I'm saying that is because everybody thinks interest rates go lower when the Fed cuts the rates.
Right. Well,
but as you can see, the Fed,
great point.
The Fed hasn't cut the rates, and the rates have already gone down like 1 full percent.
Right. Yeah. The market reaction in August was really steep.
Yeah. And again, it's all about the jobs. Like the most important thing to the Fed, it's jobs, the job market.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So I think a lot of people, if they see their interest rates, going somewhat lower, I think that inspires them like, okay, maybe it's more achievable that I can make those payments.
I agree with you. I think that the market is front running the Fed's choice, which is they're going to reduce the rate at their next meeting. They're going to announce some sort of rate reduction
Wednesday.
I know that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I think the market is front running that. I know there's the whole Japanese market and overnight bond thing. I don't want to get in the weeds of that because I don't understand it to the technical degree I can explain it. But I know that helped at the beginning of August us push rates down a little bit, like literally in 2 days. It went like almost an entire percent lower on our side because the bond side did what it was doing and then it translated over there in the mortgage space.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, and the reason I asked you the question is like yes or no. I think that when people have the incentive financially to get back on the field, but they also have more choices, I think they're going to go, oh, those are two really big things for me. I'm back in. I don't know what the third competitor would be. Like, what's the third variable they would go that they'd be waiting for still, even if those other two are good?
Yeah, elections.
Well, okay, that's okay. That's
elections.
Good. We talked about that too. I guess I didn't think about that right now. But yeah, if the price is there. Like if the price via the rate is there and then you have more selection because inventory is back, I think that's going to draw a lot of people. But maybe there's still some hesitation because of the election cycle.
But there is, Andy. A lot of people are actually, they think there's an instability right now. Well, who's going to come into office? How that's going to affect the way they're doing that. So they're kind of like, this is kind of unstable right now. So not until I know who it is, I think they'll show a little more stability on the choices they're going to make, etc.
You know what's interesting to me? One of the topics we covered last week was just Gen Z's. Gen Z's like hunger and appetite for like chasing down home ownership, and that they're currently at a greater percentage of ownership than Gen X and millennials. Yeah. And I was like, oh, they're not messing around. Wow. And one of the examples that was used in the article was this like young man who bought a house in 2020. Yeah. It's like, dude, in the last 5 years, when has there been greater uncertainty than 2020, right? The way that all started. And like, so this cat's looking back in the rearview mirror 4 years down the road, like bought a house in 2020. And I was like, when we're doing this, I'm talking to Brian and I'm like, dude, this kid was like, no, I'm buying a house no matter what. Like there was no clear vision of what was supposed to happen at specific times in that year. And here's this kid cited in this article, like, I'm just doing it. So
why not?
That
right?
Go after it is also what kind of confounds me a little bit. Like, I know some people are waiting for an election. Yeah. Some people are like, I ain't waiting for nothing.
No, totally. So I'm glad with all of this. I did see here also that the while supply is increasing in most cities, some are seeing huge gains. Like Tampa Bay, Florida, inventory is up. Like that's where you use the 90. This is just crazy, right? But at the same time, it's not crazy. We're kind of starting to see a little more normalcy because in 2021, 22, when we only had 250,000 homes available nationwide, that was the lowest we've ever seen. Yeah. To put it in perspective, I got these notes. 2010, there was 3.6 million homes available.
Yeah.
And that was when after the 2008, a lot of people going through the foreclosure. It takes time. Remember, everything's a ripple effect. It doesn't happen immediately. It takes a little bit of time for it to all roll out. Then in 2011, there was 3.5 million, according to NAR, the National Association of Realtors. So when you're looking at this data, and currently we have a little over 704,000. Yeah. The norm is 1 million to 1,100,000 homes available. And we're talking about nationwide.
Yeah.
Right?
So there's sorry, go ahead.
We're still not at the normal. This is kind of getting normal where it starts becoming more of a buyer's market versus a seller's market.
Yeah, I think there's still some more ways to go in that too, because based on pure volume, like you're commenting, but also just the simple fact that people are going to have to take. They're going to have to take whatever their variables of priority are and really just confront them face to face and go, I'm either going to do this or not do this. Yeah. On the seller side and the buyer side, not just saying that for buyers. It's going to be
so this is actually good information. 60%. What we're talking about here, if you're on the fence, this is the good time to start looking. Yeah. When there's more homes available, this is the time where now the seller's going to come forward more to the buyer's needs.
Yeah. I think some of that's going to have to happen, especially because competition is going to happen too. It's not like you're just going to put a sign in the yard and 100 people are going to come anymore. Like that's not the way.
Those aren't the days right now. It's funny how things just change, right? We go through these seasons, things just change.
Yeah, they ebb and they flow. They move. So Well, let's ebb and flow into the next thing because it kind of ties into this, but it's a little bit more with a little bit more specificity. From Realtor.com, real estate sluggish summer will give buyers a jump in the fall. Now, this is something that we were kind of speculating and we were talking about just from an observatory type of angle.
Yeah.
The claim is that August is a notoriously sluggish time anyways, but that this August was particularly slow. I would still say that 2023 August was just felt like there was like a vice grip around the neck of the market.
Yeah.
Certainly was that way when it came to mortgage rates. I just think the best way for me to describe my position on this is that we've kind of just taken everything, we've just clicked it to the right by an entire quarter.
Yeah.
I think anything that was going to happen in the spring, it's happened in the summer. Anything that we expect to happen in the summer is now going to happen in the fall.
Yeah.
I think that's just what it is.
I mean, I think the title is great, right? Real estate sluggish summer will give buyers a jump in the fall.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're finally hearing that the Fed is going to finally reduce the Fed funds rate.
Yeah.
We haven't seen that happen. And if they reduce it in September, it'll be 30 months.
Yeah.
30 months since we've seen the Fed reduce the Fed funds rate. I don't think that's ever happened.
Well, part of what hasn't to go hand in hand with that, part of what hasn't happened is how quickly they raised the rate to get out of the problem. So it's the other side of the coin, which is yes, it's been a really long time. They have held it higher for longer, and I have some charts back from 22.
Oh, have they? Okay.
From 22? No, but I have some charts from 2022 when they're doing like these projections where they want the Fed funds to rate. They're actually behind by like 9 months, 6 to 9 months. So what they were hoping for by 2024. We're not there yet. And where they're saying we'll be in 2025 is actually where they thought we were going to be in 2024. Jeez. So when you go and look in the old archives, they put all these blue charts, and it says like Fed members survey of projected Fed funds rate in the future. And it says like 23, 24, 25, 26. We're behind.
Yeah.
We're behind. And I think it's because what they were expecting to have happened economically with inflation took a lot longer than they were hoping for.
And I think a lot of it had to do with how they were increasing the Fed funds rate. Sometimes it would just be 0.25% instead of just going 75 or 1 full %. I think we would have got out sooner. But again, they got to be cautious, right?
Yes.
They're teeter-tottering to see what's going to be the best balance, and they still haven't figured it out, as you can see.
Well, that I think they had to change. I think they had to change their strategy, but without like totally admitting that there was a fault in the strategy at the beginning.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into that.
Well, no. I mean, hey, we just talked about a couple of weeks ago how, what was that, $800,000? Sorry, the
880,000
880,000 jobs that we created from
that weren't created. Yeah, I don't.
So I get it.
Here's the thing I'll say, just as a caution for everyone watching on either side of whatever your political spectrum is, you have to understand the definition of what they're counting and reporting before you say it's a good or it's a bad thing. No. You can patently sit up here and say, yeah, it's really bad to overinflate jobs numbers, regardless of which side you are defending or supporting. Because when you say you have 880,000 more jobs than you actually do, that's giving a false impression to the people, the Fed, that are saying they're being data dependent in order to make their policy decisions.
Correct.
That's bad no matter which side of the aisle you're sitting on. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, I mean, still, that's a lot of jobs created for.
It is. Well, it's a lot.
Or
of,
just made up.
Oh God.
But okay, I didn't mean to ruffle the
you're
feathers.
Right. No, it's fine. We're talking about the fall. The Fed is going to reduce the rates in September. Okay, we already know it's going to happen. It's probably going to happen a second time by the end of the year. Yes, I think that real estate is got a quarter turn click to the right, and I mean quarter turn literally quarter of the year and quarter turn to the right. I think they're going to see more inventory. I think that people are going to be eager to try to get in homes in the fall and winter, even if even weather notwithstanding, in places that maybe weather isn't that good. I still think people are going to start taking advantage of. And there's another thing that they didn't talk about here, and I'm going to say this is the dark horse reason. The dark horse reason is people are going to have to sell because they have to.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Financially and economically going to have to sell because they're imprisoned by their payment.
Yeah.
And or they have too much debt and selling's a way out, not refinancing.
Yeah.
Or they're having some other economic problem in their life that they're going to have to sell. And I think that's going to bring inventory and cause a lot of windfall events for owners.
We just had one right now where we presented an offer for $1 million. They were selling it for $1.2 million. The offer that was submitted was for $1 million. And so sellers were like, we the lowest we'll take is $1.1 million, right? And so my buyer said, like, we're not going with that. No thanks. So they decided to withdraw. So they withdrew the property. They said, like, we're just going to take it off the market. We're going to try to see if we can get a renter in there. Fast forward a month later, they gave us a call back and they took our offer, and we just opened escrow on $1 million.
No, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So what was the reason? So
here's the thing, Andy.
Why was the buyer going into the $1 million a month and a half ago, 2 months
Just
ago?
because the bar that he felt like with the amount of repairs and all that,
Okay.
yes, it's going to need some money. It's not worth that 1.1, even though sales comparables were in that. So they wanted to offer 1, and that's my bottom line. Like, there's no more. I'm going to go higher, right? So obviously, you already know. As soon as we open escrow, I look at the property profiles. I look and see what mortgage are in there. There is a first and a second and a third mortgage in there. So going to that, when I see that there was a line of credit, original mortgage is there from what they purchased, right, with 20% down. Then I see a line of credit, and then another line of credit. 8 months later, that tells me there's some situation going on financially. So you're absolutely right. And they just purchased this property back in 2021. So this could be, you never know. It could be a financial, they lost their job. It could be a divorce, which is very common.
That's common. Yeah, that's
very common right now is what we've seen a lot of that. So, you just never know. I think people right now are just getting rid of that interest rate. Even if it was low, they're just saying the heck with it because there's bigger problems,
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question, kind of piggybacking on that, because it came up here in the article, and now that you brought this to the table, I think this actually goes really well. Do you think that buyers, so given the state that maybe there's a seller who's in distress financially or getting divorced or whatever, like, do you think buyers can afford to wait to just kind of see what else pops up, or do you think that they need to strike when the iron's hot?
For me right now, for my opinion, and I always said this, strike you can strike already, strike it now. We don't know what's going to happen later. It's not like we have a crystal ball. If I did, right, I would have invested in Tesla a long time ago and probably wouldn't have this conversation or NVIDIA, right?
Yeah.
So it's those kind of things. A lot of times they put it out there and you just miss out, or you feel like you miss out, And so you got to strike right now when the opportunity is there. And that's why you got to get approved first, get your approval, be ready, know what your numbers are more or less, because now that we know the Fed's going to reduce the rates, I think that puts a buyer in a better position now. Realizing that, hey, right now I'm going to get a lower rate. I already know that 6-8 months down the line, I'm going to be able to refinance this again and put myself and my family even in a better position as time moves on.
And so I guess I am asking, now that I'm kind of hearing your answer, I guess I am kind of asking more of a psychological question, I think, than a math question. I'm like, should they be looking or waiting? Like, if you're approved, you could be looking and buying, then go. So the answer kind of is more of a behavioral psychological, which is like, hey, you said you wanted this.
Yeah.
The market is ready to take you in as a buyer. Go look for a place and do it.
This is what people think a lot. They think like, wait a minute, if I get into it right now, what if we see a bunch of homes come on the market and the properties go down? Right?
Yeah, okay.
The best excuse that I use is just go to your grandparents when they first bought their home.
That's true.
Right? Just look at what's happened. They've gone through the cycles and they're still in a better position, having bought the property versus not have bought one.
I'm remembering a story my mom told me about when she said to my grandfather that her and my dad wanted to buy a place in Spring Valley for like $78,000, like in the 70s. Back in the 70s, like 78, like, you're crazy. There's no way you should be buying a house for $78,000. This is like 40-something years ago now. But now you're looking at is there anything under 800 or 900?
Especially, Andy, you already know. Obviously, I buy and invest too. I'm building ADUs here. You're in San Diego, you're landlocked.
Yeah.
You're landlocked.
Big time.
So we're approving people here like, please just buy something. You'll be fine. It's longevity. It's like stocks in the market right now. It's not timing of the market, it's time in the market.
Yeah.
Real estate works the same way. So that's my take on this.
Okay, so you're on board with the fall being I'll say the new summer.
That's right.
Do you think that? Do you think that's what's going to happen?
Absolutely. People in the summer was so slow. It wasn't as busy as it has been in times like we always saw April. Everybody right after Christmas happened, like it takes like mid-February, March. But we've also seen the last 4 years, March interest rates rise.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
We've seen that, right? And so people are like, hey, this is a good market. There's not so many homes on the market. So if I'm going to get top dollar, now is the time for me to put it up.
Yeah.
You know, it's ready from the holidays, all cleaned up, ready to put that. So
yeah, I'm gonna use the word. I'm gonna use this word that this other guy, Jeff Lichtenstein, was saying and quoted in this article. There's a stalemate in the marketplace. And I was like, the summer felt like a stalemate.
It felt
it's
like
sellers who got those golden handcuffs with a really low interest rate don't want to sell. They got a lot of equity. Like, that's great.
Yeah.
But they don't have a need to sell. They don't need to sell.
Yeah.
And someone who wants to buy is on the other side of that, like, oh, I got this, like, interest rate environment that's, let's say, unfavorable and creating unaffordability, and prices are high and inventory's low. Great.
Yeah.
So, I like the description he used, but because it kind of just felt that way. But I think that stalemate is loosening up, and I'm actually
absolutely
pretty excited about that.
I see right there, housing stock will increase this fall, and I put yes, it already has.
Yeah.
It's plateaued. We're like, Phil, it's like plateau. Like, we've seen a lot of withdrawals. This is the highest price cuts. We're like 33% higher than last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And a lot of times, why does that happen, Andy? The seller thinks like, well, my house is worth 1.2, right? Like I said.
Yeah.
But to a buyer, yeah, you may look at it. This is your primary home.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm looking in there. What am I going to do? What's my likes?
Mm-hmm.
What am I going to put into this property? 80,000, 100. So I like it for $1 million.
Yeah.
And look what?
Yeah.
It got offer accepted at $1 million.
Yeah. And so,
So who really determines the price?
The buyer.
The buyer.
The buyer. Yeah. What's the market willing to give you for what you
Absolutely.
have? Yeah, absolutely.
That's how it goes. So that's one thing that's happened right there.
So we're going to see, let's say, home prices kind of like stay plateau, or maybe even see a little bit of a downtick based on inventory. That there's a chance that they could just stay stable versus decline further if mortgage rates come down, or when they come down further, and people are able to afford. I think that some people are naturally going to become buyers again and actually be able to get in at the price that's listed still, and maybe sellers will have to take less haircut. But here's my caveat. Because there's more inventory, I think it's going to be more about seller versus seller as opposed to seller versus buyer.
Yeah.
I think it's like, oh, you're going to put your house on the market?
100%.
Well, the one next to you is nicer. Now what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Like it's going to be, I think it's going to be sellers competing among each other for getting buyers versus, oh, I got 9 buyers and I'm just going to try to compete with, no.
Yeah.
I think that's what's going to change.
Exactly. Oh, 100%. Very
okay,
true.
this is going to go into the equity conversation once again.
Yeah.
And not for the final time, I don't think, this year, but we are at the peak of equity. We are at $32 trillion in home equity, a record high.
That could pay our whole deficit.
That could be almost.
We'll still be shy 1 trillion, right?
Yeah, it's like that's true in this like flash of the pan moment, but tomorrow it'll be $1 trillion higher.
Yeah.
God, I can't believe that.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Crazy. No, it's crazy.
What was I talking to you about? We kind of off topic, or not off camera. I was talking about the consumer credit card balance. It's like 1.1 trillion.
1.2 like now.
It's like, hey, there's 32 trillion in equity. Like, pay all that shit off.
Ain't gonna happen.
Not gonna happen.
No, it's crazy when I saw that.
We see people doing that. I mean,
yeah. When I saw that, my first thing I put crazy. But then what?
So that's the thing. It's kind of like it's this massive, huge number, but it means nothing until you do something.
Yeah.
So it means nothing.
But we can't do like Andy.
Cash out, refinance. You sell your house. Like it's untapped.
But let's say like me right now.
resource.
I don't need that stuff, right? I don't. Luckily, knock on wood, been paying everything. I'm good. I have all this equity in my home, but then what?
Yeah.
I got a $3,000 mortgage.
Right.
That includes my HOA, my property taxes, homeowner's insurance.
Yeah.
If
in some places that's absolutely bonkers, but here that's like half price.
Exactly. So if I sell the property and I put all my proceeds into another one, my payment will still be like $7,000.
You're going to go to $6,000 or $7,000,
and I'm going
right
to
away.
almost the same house.
I know. I know.
So it's crazy here in San Diego. So I'm just kind of like, what do I do? It's just I'm kind of feel like I'm landlocked. If
sure
that makes sense.
You're like situation locked, right?
Yeah.
You're kind of in a great position. You don't need to move. You don't want to move. You don't have to move.
Yeah.
So there's really nothing for you to do.
That's the other thing I like to share is everything we do right now because of the certain market conditions, right? We are paying more for gas. We're paying more for food. We're paying more for everything. Mm-hmm. I have, my 2 kids in college. Knock on wood. Luckily, we have no student loans. Tanya and I, we take care of that. But I tell you, it's not the easiest out there either for us. So I'm not going to paint the picture like, oh yeah, I'm there. Like, no, we're still putting that hard work. We're still trying to get everything done. There is challenges out there, but what I was going with this is just everything we do, it's got to be a need. If we want something, it's a want. We just not going to make that extra expense or sacrifice for that.
So ones can wait.
They can wait. And that's what we had to get into the transition, because we've done very well for ourselves the past years.
Yeah.
2023 happened. It hit us hard.
Yeah.
24 did not start the best for us either. And so we had to become frugal, and we had to change our mindset and start saying, do we really need 2 or 3 cars? No, we need 1 car.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you guys are,
And we're utilizing 1 car. We're figuring out, we're making the sacrifices.
Yeah.
There's times that Tanya wants to go somewhere else, and I'm actually, hey, we go together, or let's go to the office, and then you can go and do what you have to do, you know?
Yeah.
So the best advice I can give to people to put yourself in a better position so you can have more equity and not have to use it up is, if it's not a need, don't go for it.
Yeah.
Be patient, right? Just be patient.
Well, and we're on the cusp of something similar, but not so similar, which is, we have a new driver being added to our house, and then another driver coming too. Yeah. But both the vehicles we have, they're paid off. And so I have older vehicles specifically because A, they're paid off. 2, they're reliable, and I'm about to put new drivers into them. So, so I don't have to get another car yet, but we're going to be in a situation where that might be more helpful for us. So right now, I may want it, but we're waiting.
Correct.
So it's not a need yet. So until it's a need, it's not. It's a not for us.
Yeah, there
now,
you go.
So on the equity side, though, now to kind of pivot a little bit, I know that here we've been seeing a lot of people tap into the equity to get themselves out of a jam. Let's just be honest. People have gotten themselves into some financial jams, and the house is their little ATM machine bailing them out. Yeah. Now, I hope that their behavior changes. We talk a lot about how people can use this as their get out of jail free card this one time, but then to change and alter some of those habits, like we're talking about, to be more frugal in one way, but be more, I don't want to just say conservative, but more proactive with your financial planning.
Why not?
Actually think, because I'm not saying, I don't want this to come across like, oh, you can't go have fun and you can't eat dinner and you can't go on vacation. I'm not saying that stuff. I'm saying build a budget. If what's caused you to be in such bad debt is that you don't have a budget, you're not following the budget, then build a budget. Yeah. You can use your equity to get out of the problem. We've seen people cash out and pay off 50, 60, 70, 80, $100,000 of debt that was consumer driven. Yeah. And then the house comes to the rescue and saves all that. But now it creates this pad every month. Be intentional about it and be smart with it. That's my argument. Yeah,
because this is a great investment, right? Owning your home is a great investment. I mean, one of the things that I put right here is it says right here, thanks to the run up in the housing prices, homeowners now have more than $32 trillion in home equity as the first quarter of 2024, according to the St. Louis Federal Reserve. All-time high, yes. And the next thing that I wrote right there is BlackRock. Next thing that I wrote right there.
Okay, are you going to say that is a manipulated number up?
No, I'm not saying that it's manipulated. What I'm saying and what I want to give, what I want people to understand is big corporation, hedge funds, companies are buying our real estate. Right?
I don't mean manipulated like they're lying about the number. No. I'm saying, do you think that that's been forced upwards by big corporate buyers and
because they see these numbers and they're like, well, we need to be a part of this.
Gobbling up stuff.
Right? So we need to gobble up this, because if homeowners have $32 trillion, well, that's already a good number. How do we gobble up more real estate and they become our competitors?
Yeah.
That's why they're saying they want to make it a renter's market, because we were talking about earlier of people not pulling the trigger, right? Well, when you got competition like this, you got to start making a choice. Is it a need or is it a want? I think everybody needs a home.
Yeah, everyone needs to have shelter over their head. The
That's
difference
correct.
is whether you own it or you rent it.
Yes.
And, the thing about this specific conversation is it is very dynamically different depending on where the audience member is listening to this from. Yeah. If you're sitting in a top 50 metro in the country, the prices are higher. The equity is usually a lot larger. Yeah. And you see that in time after time. Yeah. And then there's places where it's maybe a smaller town. There's not $100,000 of equity.
No.
There may be 30% equity, but that only translates into $50,000 or $60,000. So sometimes here, this $32 trillion, that can be a little bit of a misnomer too. It's like if that's coming from New York, Miami, San Diego, Denver, Dallas, LA, San Francisco, Seattle. Okay, you're talking. Some houses here have $400,000 of equity because they have it.
Exactly.
So if you bought a house for $500,000 here and it went up 40% over the last couple of years, now all of a sudden you're sitting on a $900,000 house.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I mean, it's not exactly that. Sorry, that's not a 40% increase.
No, I get it,
I'm
but
just
I
saying
understand
the
that.
point is there's this massive gap that creates a dollar
Yeah.
amount that is extremely representative of the city you're in.
Yeah.
So that's also my cautionary
great
tale.
point.
Is like, be careful based on wherever you're sitting and watching this and what part of the country you're in. You have to survey for yourself. The percentage and the dollar amount are going to be quite different than some of these other areas we're talking about.
No, exactly.
So what do you want to tell people that have a lot of equity in their house? Like what's one of the things you are looking at now, seeing now that you're like, hey, take a second look at this or take a first look at this?
Yeah, no, I mean, I like it here how it says tap into your home for cash. Although homeowners are sitting on record amount of house wealth, the cost of borrowing against your home is also near the highest it's been in years, largely due to series of rate hikes, of course. And I agree. Interest rates are, it makes you have a higher payment. So it's considered higher cost,
Yeah.
and it is going to be a lot more expensive.
That's compared to itself, though. Like if you're talking about the cost of getting a HELOC 4 years ago versus now, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But what about the cost of the HELOC compared to your $40,000 credit card bill at 30%?
No,
or
that's
even at 20%. Like
most definitely, which isn't a tax
that's
write-off, right?
Apples to oranges conversation.
And so what I put right there is, like they say, what goes up must come down. Mm-hmm. What do I mean by that is the rates, right?
Yeah.
You're going to do it right now. HELOC interest rates, I'm going to say anywhere from the high 8s all the way to like the 13%, depending on your credit score, your loan to value.
Yeah.
And I think on the next article, we'll touch on that. But it just depends. Your credit card right now is a lot more expensive than that.
Yeah. Depending on where you survey, the average credit card rate is like, depending on what like site you're surveying, sometimes I've seen quoted between 21 and like 25% average for consumer credit cards, which is nuts. So the thing I want to caution and also encourage though is to be wise. And like, I'm going to go back to what I was saying a minute ago about this. Like if you're going to use your home equity because you have to get yourself out of a jam, be wise about it. Plan ahead, make sure you can pay it back. And a lot of times you can pay it back by virtue of what you're spending out of pocket right now. So if you're spending, let's just say $1,000 between car payment, credit cards, personal loan, or whatever it is, and then you use your home equity to pay all that off, and your new payment goes up by $500, you're net 500 positive. Do something with that. Save it, invest it, apply it towards your mortgage payment, and pay that back down using the mortgage calculator. There's a lot to do. So I'm saying if you can already afford that $1,000 out of pocket, but you can net an extra $500 by doing something with it, do that, but be proactive. That's my last.
No, that's great.
Point.
That's great. I mean, the article comes to talk about also a home equity line of credit here. It says that the average loan interest rate is an 8.52. Again, that is based on the loan to value.
Yep.
Okay. What that actually means is what's your property worth? What do you currently owe? And then if you need 80, 100,000 on the line of credit, that's going to be your loan to value based on that amount and the total value of what your appraisal will come in at. So obviously the lower loan to value and the better credit score, the lower that interest rate. Because we just had a client right now, they're going all the way to 90% loan to value, and the rate's like at 12.5. Right? Wow. Where we have another one that's only going to 70 and the rate's only 9.875.
Yeah, well, that's a huge difference.
Big difference. So and the credit score is much better. So credit's everything, guys.
Something else, and again, I just thought of this right now. Something else is if specifically if you have a VA, if you need to do the VA cash out, the VA cash out will likely come in lower than HELOC even.
Right now we're doing those, Andy. Like right now we're doing a cash out refinance, up to 90% loan to value. You still could go up to 100, but the investors will hit your interest rate higher because of there's more risk.
Of course.
Right? So everything, remember, with lending, it's all about risk.
Yeah, well, you're squeezing every cent out of that place at 100% loan to value. My point, though, is like, especially if you currently have a VA loan, and regardless what your first is, instead of getting a HELOC, and there might be a case, you have to run the numbers. There's a case where maybe the HELOC would win out as your solution, or the cash out might even win out. So just take a look at that.
Well, we have a client that actually has a 2.375, refinanced them now to 6.25. The interest the rate was 6.25. Why? Because their credit scores were a 619. And remember, everything's in thresholds. 620 to 639, 640 to 659, 660 to 679, etc. So it's in tiers. So they were in the lowest tier for us, and they still forfeited that. We're giving them 150, 160,000, and monthly after they pay off all their credit card debt and everything, they still have $3,000 left over. What it is now, yes, because their payment,
they're spending $3,000 a month less
because they're paying off all their debt. So it's like 9,600 more or less. Don't quote me.
Crazy.
Correct.
Sorry, I don't know about this scenario.
Correct. So it's like 9,600 what they're currently paying right now with credit card and everything. After they pay that 150, 100, almost 60,000, right?
Holy
They're
crap.
going to save it's like a little over 3,000 because their payment's going to go up to 6,000 and change.
That's nuts. So
absolutely.
So housing payment plus out-of-pocket payments is $9,000.
Correct.
Holy shit.
Yes, correct.
Oh
so
my
that's the
God.
kind of stuff that happens here in San Diego, right? In California, you're probably going to see these higher loan amounts, et cetera.
So paying it off, even if the interest rate sounds terrible, it's like almost 3 times higher than what they currently have.
Exactly.
But their payment, their out-of-pocket expense now in the 6,000.
Yeah.
Dude,
but the
that's
numbers got to
crazy.
make sense, right? If
No,
the
I
numbers
know, but
don't
I'm
make
like,
sense, the math doesn't make sense. You're just going to leave things alone. In this case, forfeit it, right? Because I said earlier,
Well, what else are they going to do? What's their alternative?
And the credit was not, Andy, the credit wasn't because they had any lates. They were just overextended. And remember, the credit bureaus, they have certain algorithms of what your spending is. So when we run credit, it'll tell you last month they had this debt.
Yeah.
This month they have this debt. 2 months ago they had that. Like it shows. So the algorithm just put the wife in a really bad situation.
Dang, man.
And so it's okay. It's a temporary thing because after 210 days of making your first payment, they're eligible to do a VA IRRRL.
The IRRRL. That's smart.
Right?
That's
so
really smart.
We're just going to kind of play it as it is. Next time around, we're going to go do the whole mortgage accelerator calculator and we're going to reinvest back into that.
Reapply that money towards the balance pay down. Dude, that's super smart.
Yes.
What a crazy example. Those are big. You're tossing around some really big numbers right now.
Yeah, that's a big, that's what we're getting right now. Those $300,000, $400,000 loans are not existent here right now in San Diego.
I know
It's
that
crazy.
I know they're not, but like you telling me that someone is going to net $3,000 a month better with the cash out with a higher interest rate, it kind of undercuts that entire argument that like no one should be doing cash out.
It's a no-brainer in that case, Andy. It's no-brainer. Like, I get you're emotionally attached to the lower rate, but listen, there's a bigger picture in this.
But this is that thing, man. I think this kind of goes. It's like underneath all these other headlines is like I think people really need this right now. Because we're seeing it, and it's and I know that I lean in towards more of it being like, okay, if you put yourself in a bad financial position, you overspent, It's not always that. There are life circumstances that happen that cause you to financially have to commit to things like paying certain medical bills or paying for unexpected expenses that happen that maybe
absolutely.
And I'm gonna say it right now, even that if your insurance isn't covering certain things anymore that they used to, or there's exclusions in your policy that you had to get, so you had insurance but now it doesn't cover the thing that happened, like,
or you're getting the deductible because remember, like in my case, I have a $5,000 deductible if I use a medical and. This year, we didn't do so well. Tanya had some issues, so we had to pay that deduct.
Yeah.
Certain things like that just come up. Your kids attend, summer school and they didn't tell you, and now you get a freaking bill for summer school.
I feel like that's a communication problem.
Yeah, like, hey, you could have gone to Southwestern College. Why are you taking at freaking San Diego State, right? It makes a difference, boy.
So send them a bill.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Here, this is a bill for your summer school.
But no, you're absolutely, there's a lot of life things that happen.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, let's finish off strong today on mortgage rates, okay? We're kind of been talking a little bit about this all throughout today's show, but mortgage rates hit their lowest level finally this year since February of 23.
It's about time. And you know what? I think it's been since freaking March and they started increasing. So I like the way they kind of spin it here, but it's been a minute since we've seen these low interest rates. But it is a relief, Andy. It is. Last year, we're seeing around the same time, September, October. Remember, October was brutal.
Yeah.
We're seeing the rates, high 7s, low 8s.
Yeah, we should have like a memorial service in October for mortgage rates.
That was brutal. It was like an eerie, when something really bad happens, like nobody's doing anything. That's how it felt that last year, It's like, yo, what happened? Everything just came to a standstill.
There's a scene at the end of the Avengers movie after like New York City gets attached and they're like sitting at the end of the credits and they're all sitting in the shawarma shop and they're just it's just all quiet and they're all just eating. I'm like, okay. Oh man, we just really went through this really crazy thing, and they're all just sitting there eating like,
Yeah.
That was October. That was
Brutal.
That was brutal. Actually, I think
Brutal.
maybe I should say that was the November after the October of 23.
Yeah.
So mortgage rates are going down. It's kind of started in August. This is a look back article because we're looking in the rearview mirror on what had happened. You and I both saw on the nerd side, Treasury yield totally got better, and then Treasury yield dumps into mortgage rates.
Yeah, tell us, Andy, I actually put right there. Andy, please tell us more about this. What's because you are the nerd when it comes to that.
So the best way I can probably describe this is it's a fine balancing act. If you do too much on one side of the scale, then it means something over here. You do something too much on this side of the scale, it means something over here. So there's this like dance between money exchanging hands and money, the cost of that money exchanging hands, and who holds our debt, and how much of their debt they hold, and how much debt we allow ourselves to get into as a nation. Now, when you see the bond market react to certain economic news or banking news or risk factors, people rebalance their risk. And when countries or hedge funds or individuals or investors rebalance their risk, it translates into things in the market that we then go price out, such as mortgages. So the way I like to describe this is when you see a big basket of money that gets more money dumped into it, then I can offer that money to lend to you cheaper. When there's scarcity of that money and that basket of money gets smaller and smaller, in order to lend it out, I have to charge you more. And so what happened in August is we saw the market have more activity in a favorable way for mortgage rates because we had more activity. So some of that is going to go all the way to the Japanese market and some things that were happening there. That's not for this show, but just know that August was when that started happening. Gotcha. And I know we went from just a handful of refinances to like 19 or something crazy like that.
We were also running a special
in 2 days, in like 2 days.
Yeah.
And it's because people could qualify. So people who bought in like 22 or 23 and had like a high rate, they got that VA that VA IRRRL because the mortgage rates went and like kind of like they just like dumped down for a minute and kind of stayed there. And then we just brought all these people that were our past clients into that, and now they're saving a bunch of money.
Yeah, no, exactly. So the Treasury bill is the best way to determine
the 10-year Treasury. So the 10-year Treasury is what I look at, I'll say almost daily, because some days there's nothing to look at it for. But the 10-year yield is what I watch in order to know which way mortgage rates are going. And of course, our own monitoring service that we pay for and subscribe to tells us which way the mortgage market specifically is going up, down, or sideways.
But it's all about the Treasury.
It really is. It is a good barometer of kind of where the market foresees things going and what it's reacting to in the rearview mirror as well. Like, oh, that had happened. Okay, we're going to do this next based on projecting where I think that's what the ripple effect and cause is going to be. What that means for you on the consumer side is that with mortgage rates going down, a couple things are going to happen. You're going to see more buyers probably come back to the market in the fall. Yeah, we talked about inventory already in the show. We talked about equity in the show, and we're talking about refinancing in the show. You're going to see mortgage applications probably tick up. Yep. And you already see here that they were up 106% than 1 year ago, which is basically a doubling. But this goes back to my point. It's because people need to refinance. Yeah. This isn't because all of a sudden everyone at the same time was like, oh, now everyone on the planet wants to buy a house. No, there's people that own houses that are refinancing because they're in trouble. Yeah.
I like how it says that may sound like a massive increase, but the numbers were so low last year that it even just...
doubling from 2 to 4 isn't that notable?
That's 100%. That's like more than 100%. But no, absolutely. You know, last month when the rate started dipping, and again, I like to use this. Like people think, well, the Fed reduced the Fed funds rate. Now rates are going to go down. The rates have started going down, and the Fed still hasn't reduced the Fed funds rate. Yeah. So remember that, people. Like, as much as we want to think they're the ones that influence all this, it's not like that. It's all about the jobs. It's all about what's going on in the market, you know, and what's going around worldwide. Yeah, you know, all these things matter. So yes, to your point, we got super slammed, thank goodness. And that was because we were, you know, able to refinance people, especially our VAs. They were having 6.8, 7.5. We reduced, you know, 5.25 for conforming loan limits. Again, that's any loan, 766. I'll keep it short, 766 or under. That's a conforming. What that means, it conforms nationwide. So therefore, the interest rates are more favorable for that. Then you have high balance. That's any loan above that 766, okay, 550. So any loan above that is actually going to be considered a high balance, and therefore the interest rate is going to be higher. Okay. Usually that's because on the conforming loan limits, a mortgage becomes a mortgage-backed security and it actually sells off in the secondary market where a high balance will actually have to be a particular investor that's willing to service that loan and not sell it off, etc.
They're effectively two different baskets of money.
Very effectively two baskets of money.
Yep.
And that's why you'll see, like on our high balance, we're locking people in 5.625, 5.75, no points, no nothing. Like no charge to them. We're skipping the 2 months payment, giving them their escrow money back. So a lot of times they were using that. A lot of these people felt very relieved because they're like, if my payment's like $6,000. Well, we had one where it's a loan for 1.5. Imagine the taxes.
Oh, yeah. The tax.
Just to tax the loan, he's getting a huge refund, like $12,000, and then skipping a payment where his payment's $12,000. That's like, I tell the client, like, that's like a miniature cash out.
He's netting like 23.
No, 20, higher than that. Andy, it was like, it's like close to 40 grand.
Wait, what?
Because it's 2 months. In 2 months, it was 12,000 and change.
I'm sorry.
And then they're getting another, I want to say it was like 13, 12.
I was adding the one plus the tax the recapture.
They're getting that. Yeah. So they're getting, it's like.
Wow, that is close to 40.
Yeah, so he was like, I go consider this like a miniature cash out without having to go with the higher interest rate.
What's financing his new escrow account then? His new impound account?
We're doing the new one, yeah. So your loan will increase because we're impounding that again, but we're giving them a refund.
Got it.
So the whole thing is like, if you use that and you put that all back to your principal, it's like you didn't pay nothing for a refinance.
That's crazy. Wow.
In this case, utilize that to pay
million?
off. And again, I run the credit, we analyze it, we see like where you can start paying these things off and save even more money than what we've already done based on reducing the rate.
So given the nature of like that example and the whole mortgage rates being the lowest since February of 23, like kind of looking at out the windshield of this, like what else do you think is on the horizon for people that maybe we just aren't talking about here yet that we should be talking about?
I think the next thing that people are going to start considering is obviously here in San Diego. I don't want to say the nationwide. I like to stick here in this community because I understand it, but I think, I don't know what's in the horizon. I just think there's going to be more activity as we move forward. I think we're going to start seeing bidding wars again.
Okay.
When the rates get, even reduced even more so. Not this time around, but I'm thinking November-ish, I think we're going to see an uptick.
Do you think it's a little too far of a stretch to say we'll see 5% or high 4s in government loans like FHA?
In government loans, we're already there.
Is that wait? What?
We're already in the fives.
Wait, without buying? No. 5% or below.
Below? Yeah, no,
without buying points.
No, without buying points. I'm sorry. Okay, without buying points. I think on the next turnaround when the Fed starts talking about it. I just think a lot has to do also with elections. We'll see what happens.
Sorry, I didn't preface that. I meant without buying discount points.
Correct.
Like just par pricing.
Got it.
What do you think would maybe bring us to that point where 5% on the nose?
I don't know. I'm thinking sometime like I don't know.
And it's okay. I'm gonna say
if I'm curious with that, I would say it's gonna be January, February-ish of next year.
Okay.
Well, we'll start seeing kind of that.
It's not too far away. I mean, it sounds like it's far away, but it's really not.
Yeah. And again, the whole elections has a huge impact in all of this.
Yeah.
Remember, we got one of the most influential men there, which is Jerome Powell. Mm-hmm. And then we have the most important person in the whole world, which is Janet Yellen. You know what I mean? And so, depending what the new presidency has her do, print more money, we get to see what's going to happen.
I don't know, man.
So, we'll see. We're not getting into politics, but what I'm saying is, these things have a huge influence in what direction we're going to go.
They absolutely do. I am encouraged by the direction of the market, and that is what brought this to the table, is because there's real solutions available to people. I know that it's not super sexy, and it isn't that much of a good clickbait title, but the point is having an effective solution for you and your home ownership, not to just try to get 10 million views on something for the sake of saying we did it. It's how can we affect change in your personal life and in your home ownership?
Yeah, exactly.
So, mortgage rates going in that positive direction and being a little lower now than they were just a couple months ago, and then maybe even going even further coming up soon. I think that's going to be a nice relief for people. I don't mean just for us. I think it's going to be a relief for the market the housing market in general. Yeah.
One thing I will say, Andy, is based on what happened since the Fed started increasing the rates back in March of 2022, I do feel a big sense of relief.
Yeah.
I think people, I think the the hard times have already passed us.
Yeah.
You know, I think now as we move forward, there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And we'll start seeing a little more normalcy kind of things getting back together. You know,
I mean,
then
it was
we're
a 2.5 year slowdown, man.
no,
Like, it was
big
like,
time. And then new rules, right? Like the new rule that we have for real estate where the buyers have to pay their own commission.
Right.
A lot of things are changing, a lot of things. So we got to consider and factor those things in. There's still a lot of home buyers right now out there that are probably considering buying and don't even know what changes there is.
Did you see that really funny meme of the house that you can't advertise how much the buyer's agent is going to be paid for your listing, and it's a drone photo of the house in the backyard and the grass
3%.
just says 3%.
I love that.
I love it.
How to get creative, right? And that's on your MLS picture right there.
Yeah, an aerial photo of your house. It says,
I mean,
3% cut in the grass.
You know, I go back to this, Andy. If you were to take a guess as we move forward, obviously your daughters are going to buy their home,
Yes.
right? And I'm going to say that's probably going to take them another 5-6 years. Would you agree?
Yeah, our oldest probably by the time she's 25. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I'd
5-6
say.
years more or
Yeah.
less. Do you think it's going to be easier for her to purchase her home?
The market rules will not be easier, but her situation might make it easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't think as we move forward, I know now I'm a grandparent.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a lot more difficult for them.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and so that's why now we try to figure out a way how to set them up.
Well, I answered your question the way I answered it on purpose, is because the market conditions are going to make it more difficult for buyers.
Yes.
But as legacy leavers, we're going to make it easier on our kids.
Correct.
Not to give them a golden spoon, but to aid and guide and help them so that they can have. I mean, that's why we do all the things we're doing right now, is so that we'll be in a position to be able to do that with them and for them.
Absolutely. No. This is carrying the baton. You know what I mean?
yeah.
When you're doing the 4x4, right? I am the first leg
That's right.
now.
Boom.
I still not releasing that baton yet.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But that's what it is. And you're just hoping that you raise your children well enough for them to understand the value of these things.
Yeah.
You know? So when you do hand them over that baton, they're going to pass on that tradition and make that generation that much better.
And position ourselves to be able to be in a position to do that too.
Absolutely.
I think that, you know, in shows like this where people talk about the market and real estate, and we don't talk about like maybe the heart side of it or the legacy side of like actually creating that, but that's a motivator for me. I know that's a motivator for you.
Oh my goodness.
But, you know, even like that can sometimes probably not come through in this conversation we have with people either, because we're just talking about all this other stuff. But I mean, we're driven and motivated by those things for our own personal reasons.
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up, because those are things that a lot of people, we come in here, we talk about the markets. This is now aside from these things.
Yeah.
But you know, I was speaking with Tanya last week, and I was just telling her, isn't it cool? You know, like I did my ADU on my house. It was pretty cool that we did that, right? But now we're going and we're taking it a step further, where I'm building 2 ADUs now. You know, and again, giving back to the community. So when I look at my contractor and I look at our WhatsApp, because it gives me, you know, what's been done on a daily basis, I look at that and I told Tanya, you don't even know that you're building something right now. Like she doesn't even know. I know because I visit the site every Wednesday. I go in there,
of it,
and we're in week 7, by the way, going into week 8 now. And she doesn't realize that, because we're still here at the office doing what we're supposed to do.
It's happening over there. Yeah,
exactly. And you know, I'm a big believer in the big man upstairs, and one of my prayers is, you know, thank you for allowing me to wake up above ground. Thank you for giving me the mindset to want to make a difference, not only for myself, but for others.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's how I start my prayer. And doing this ADU, I bring that up is because all this information is data that I'm going to give our homeowners, our clients, to inspire them that it could be difficult right now, but there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Like we'll have more value to add on to this and hopefully share it. And we'll be sharing these videos as we move forward.
Yeah.
Hasn't happened yet because we're putting everything together.
Well, you're cataloging it. It's not.
We are.
It's already being built. You're doing it every single week.
Yes.
You've been staying on top of it. So it's going to be really fun to show that to everybody at the end.
And again, you know, I do this for my community. I do this because I want legacies to be changed. I get passionate when my clients tell me, Will, thank you for that advice. I followed that. And when I fast forward 8-9 months later and I see the difference, that's all I love seeing.
Yeah, and the story certainly is far from over. I mean, you're not.
We're barely starting.
There's no way that you're going to be this excited about this thing and you're like, yeah, I did that, I'm done. Like,
nope.
No, you're like already like headlong into a whole new direction and adding a whole separate division of what we do.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a lot more of that to talk about.
I'm telling you, I'm so excited.
Too.
Andy, I just had an investor come up to us. They have a property there on J Street, downtown. It's a little over an acre with feasibility study already to do 36 units and is looking for a partner.
What?
That's with the little things that we've started.
Oh,
you know,
dude.
Land is free and clear already. You know, clients in Turkey, they don't have sets of eyes and ears that they can trust. And we've worked together. I got him in his home in Poway in 2019. And because of the relationship factor,
so
he's
awesome.
like, well, I'd like to partner up with
do
you.
it.
So now here we are.
That's so rad.
Here we go.
That's so rad.
Great opportunities will come. Be patient and start looking for them.
Yeah.
You never know. If you don't ask, you'll never, ever know.
And the unspoken part of that, other side of that, be patient. The unspoken part is being ready. And you've made yourself ready and available, and that is why opportunities like this, when they do come up, you can take action.
That's
on
right.
It. So kudos to you and congratulations.
Well, hey, thank you for all that information. Aside from this, that was just personal. This is just raw stuff that we're going to share with you, and we're going to continue to share with you guys because we know how important it is.
Yeah.
We know how a lot of times the market, the people around you could just kind of put you in a different situation.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we're in it too.
Yeah.
And we're learning to sacrifice, even relationships we sacrifice, you know, just because we already know we put our blinders on where we want to hit, where that vision's going to be. We just want to pass it on to you.
Yeah. Well, that was a good, that was a very strong ending.
Yeah,
I'm going to go ahead and say that was the favorite part of the show for me today. It's just having that little caveat to our other conversation.
Yeah.
I think it's really important. And especially, I don't want to be overly sentimental, but especially as we get older and our children get older and you now are a grandfather multiple times, you know, things change and you look at things differently and you start looking at what you're going to do for the people you love the most and what you're going to leave for them.
Yep.
And I really appreciate that. Thanks for being so vulnerable and sharing all that with us today.
You know, absolutely. I'm human.
Yeah,
right? I want people to know that not everything's freaking rosy and everything's, you know, sunlight and we
have challenging days here too.
Oh my goodness. We absolutely do.
Yeah. We have real problems here too.
That's it. But thanks for your guys' support and watching us and being a part of the Mortgage Heroes channel and all that. It helps us out. So we're going to keep bringing it.
What was your favorite part of the show?
You know, my favorite part of is just talking about seeing that the rates are going, right? That I'm seeing property, home. So it was a first article.
Oh,
we have 60%
inventory.
Inventory.
Yeah.
I like seeing that because that just creates more opportunities to our buyers.
Yeah.
You know, it allows now the sellers, and then with interest rates now being reduced, that's going to allow more sellers to say, okay, that 2.3, now that rates are in the 4 point something or 5s, it's not too bad. I'll sell now.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so this is good. It's a win-win for sellers, good win-win for buyers, because a lot of sellers are holding tight. Even though they want to move somewhere else, they can't.
Yeah.
You know, so
solid, man.
That's my part.
Well, thank you for joining me here today. Maybe we'll have Brian back next week. We'll see. Well, thank you all for watching the Mortgage Heroes Weekly Podcast. Remember to subscribe to the channel, like the video, forward it on to someone who you want to see win in life as we want to help you win in mortgage and real estate. And join us again next week for another fun show. We'll see you then. Thanks.
See ya.